to you and the rest of the ELBC family. And let me say good morning also to the listening public. It's a pleasure being here today again on the Super Morning Show.
Good. We sought to invite you basically. I'm sure you heard about the incident in Foya, Wolokolie, where you hailed from. The president has been on his campaign trail. He visited a couple of counties. Let me just lay the basis. He went to Bombing, Bapolu, Cape Mount. The president went to Nimba now, and I understand he should be in our Grand Jury by now. He went to Wolokolie, and after his departure, a few days, we heard about some violent incident, in fact, that took the lives of two persons, your own kinsmen in Wolokolie. And we know the people of Lofa, they really don't have that sort of characteristics of violence. But what's a startled to you? Did you, in any way, feel shocked and alarmed?
Indeed, Samora, it is disappointing. It is, least to say, it's disheartening with the trend of violence that seem to be occurring during these electoral processes. I think the first thing that should happen is that every Liberian should condemn any action of violence, be it, potential violence that is occurring at the moment. The situation in Foya, we've listened to different accounts. We will not want to go too deep into talking about it because there are a lot of different accounts regarding the situation. It is our understanding now that the president has ordered an investigation of the violence that took place in Foya. We understand arrests have been made and the investigation is ongoing. It will be premature on our part to go into the nitty-gritty or the details of what happened and draw conclusions. We can have the conversations surrounding our account of what happened based on video, postings, footage, and a number of other situations that may speak directly to what happened. At the same vein, we will not draw conclusions. But there are different accounts. There are claims and counterclaims. There are counter allegations, counter claims from one person to the other.
The conflict in the accounts all coming from there.
Right. But looking at the point is, whatever happened, it shouldn't have happened. There should not have been any form of violence. When the Unity Party went to Foya to campaign, they should be allowed to campaign peacefully. When the CDC went to Foya to campaign, or any part of this country to campaign, they should be allowed to canvass with the people and rally the people in a very peaceful manner. Absolutely, there should be no one interrupting or disturbing the peace of the others. Every Liberian, every political party has the right to campaign anywhere and everywhere in this republic. So the situation is condemning, but again, we can speak to issues that will corroborate into what emanated or culminated to this violence. Prior to this violent situation, we heard comments coming from major actors in major political parties. The latest comments we heard came from the Vice President of the Republic when he said, when the elections are rigged, Liberia will go down. This statement was greeted with a lot of reactions that needed to be clarified. What does he mean when he says Liberia will go down? Few days later, we listened to Senator Prince Y. Johnson, who said he's going to organize a situation where he will allow a peaceful or a protest to be mean and start. Don't try it. You listen to Senator Johnson. I don't know whether you have that clip. They will organize a protest, a rally. Don't try it. And there were a number of violence posture that was carried as a result of the comments made by General Prince Johnson. We also listened to comments coming from Milton Bly, alias Bodmiki, another violent comment coming from him. We also listened to a comment coming from Yeke Koluba, Honorable Yeke Koluba of District Number 10. These comments coming from mean warlocks who once carry weapons unauthorized, where there were no rules and orders around in the country, responsible for the death of thousands of Liberians across the length and breadth of this republic. Seeing them making these kinds of comments, and all of a sudden there is an eruption of violence all over the different parts of the country, starting with Lofa. The other day we heard Nima, when the Honorable Representative was reportedly disallowed from entering his own environment. I think it's time that we take some cue.
Now, what are you insinuating here? Maybe because you're trying to lay the basis and give some connections to what happened in Foya. Are you saying that apparently the violent activity that happened in Foya may have been organized, from the hierarchy or by the hierarchy of out of the unity party of some political machinery?
So sometimes in leadership, it's important to listen we call it a tune from the top. If the masses of the people begin to hear violent comments from those who are supposed to be the leaders of the masses now believe that they can go on a rampage to conduct violence, and these leaders will have a possession of no moral grounds to stop them. If the tune from the top is the preach of peace message in this country, you will realize that the broad-based masses of the people will listen to the tune from the top, and the posture of a potential violence will now switch to a peaceful assembly. I'll give you an example. In 2011, as a matter of fact, 2005, two instances when elections were held and President Salif was declared. First of all, at the first round of the election, President Weah tapped the race. He had a bigger percentage than his contender, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Election moved on to second round. When they moved on to second round, President Sirleaf was declared winner of the elections. All of us were here. We know that there was a potential violence that should have happened. Speaking of the tune from the top, it was a call from President George Weah
at the time,
Senator Weah, or Ambassador Weah at the time, allowing his people, his partisans, to remain peaceful and not to get into the streets. The day was safe. broad-based mass of the people had already believed that elections were rigged and that President Salif did not win the elections. He had to take President Weah to call on the people, the mass of the people, to remain calm and peaceful. In 2011, when President Salif was going for a re-election, we noticed on that fateful day of November 7, the world stood at large, watching Liberia, watching the transition of Liberia to either moving into a peaceful environment, maintaining the peace of this country, or moving into an environment where there will have been an eruption of violence. We saw officers of the Liberia National Police unleashing lethal weapons, fire live bullets at ordinary partisans of the CDC, leading to the death of Mohammed Kurma. Today, the CDC memorializes that day. We refer to that day as a day of martyrdom, a day where Liberia stood tall, when the mass base of our people were brutalized, beaten, placed in containers, placed in Xboxes, beaten, their blood spilled on the grounds of the CDC. Eventually, you can agree with me that it was a possibility for the country to have gone into chaos. A swift response from the broad-based mass of the people were prepared. They were moving after the police. Watch the video. The mass base of the people chased the Liberian National Police with guns in their hands, with stones and bare hands. Again, it took President George Weah, Ambassador Weah at the time, to call for calm and told the people to hold on and not to cause violence. I am bringing these things up because when violence happens, people are responsible. It is better we call on our people to remain calm now and have a peaceful society as Liberia is today, in spite of political differences and our political persuasions, than to allow our people to go on a rampage.
Now, some Minister, people will be concerned, I'm sure, including me, with all the reflections you just made. You recounted, you took us back to the past when there were some situations, and it took a President Weah to make calls to his people to remain calm. And of course, calm was restored. But that's not happening now. What do you think is responsible that other political leaders are not coming out with calls on the people to remain calm and ensure that a peace reigns?
It basically demonstrates the characteristics of our leaders. We now know who are peaceful, or at least bear the standards of peace and tranquility across the country. We now know who are violent. We are still calling on the political leaders of the country to call for calm. We understand in electoral processes or electoral periods, there will be disagreements. There will be wars of war. People will throw languages and words at one another. All of the stories that you probably do not know or haven't heard
Will come up.
whether true or lie, will come up. There will be accusations made against people by one another. These are the challenging times of our nation. We must brace ourselves for all of this. We must allow these things to happen in a manner that is peaceful, that is not assertive, and that give a respect and dignity for our individual rights.
Now,
But for these actions of ours to translate into brutalization of citizens, into the loss of the lives of people, then it is extreme.
now, Mr. Minister, you from Foya, from Wolokolie, let me put it that way, and the violence
Also district.
for the Zosa district, and the violence took place in Foya, in Wolokolie, Foya, when you do have a kinsman of yours in the race, if a major contender, a contender in the race against President Weah. And up to now, we haven't heard some reactions. What comes to mind? What comes to your mind?
Well, I think we should still give the vice president a chance. A former vice president, who's a vice president is always a vice president. We should give the vice president a chance. He's entered into Lofa now. I am beginning to get some signals that he will apologize to the people of Lofa County.
Apologize?
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm gathering.
On what grounds?
On grounds of the violence that took place in Lofa. He will keep the Lofa environment calm. He's our uncle.
So you don't know what are you saying?
His responsibility.
Are you saying that you'll be admitting to guilt?
It is no apologizing doesn't suggest admittance to guilt. Somebody could get hurt and you say sorry. Apologies is a sorry.
So you'll be saying sorry to the people of Lofa County.
The least a vice president could do is to say sorry to the people of Lofa County. He's our uncle. Anybody else says sorry to the people of Lofa County, it doesn't take weight as his.
So I ask you the question: what comes to your mind now when this election? I mean, the violence took place, and you do have your kinsman who's in the race, a contender in the race, who has not spoken a word.
Let's give a time to see what he does before he leaves Lofa County. I am gathering from intelligence that he will apologize to the people of Lofa County, especially Foya, where he comes from.
Now, you said in your opening statement that you don't intend to go into the nitty-gritty, the details of all what has happened, what sparked the violence, but you've been also reading online and also seeing video footages. And what's your analysis?
All we are seeing online, on Facebook, on social media, are accounts of what people saw, or are accounts of what they detailed. We can make comments to those video footages on Facebook, on social media, but it must be understood that our comments will not be a closure of the matter. The reason is simple. The authority responsible to investigate have taken charge, and it's important to give the investigation a chance.
A chance, yeah, sure.
It's only fair. I saw video footage of streetlights planted into Lofa County being rooted out. What sort of violence or what sort of disappointment or disagreement you will have to destroy a development that has been taken to the county? Who else will have rooted the streetlights from the environment? Except somebody who didn't want to see it there. Except somebody who detests development. Again, we're not pointing fingers. But there are clear video recordings of individuals very specifically identified uprooting streetlights that have been planted in Lofa, in Foya, for the beautification of the environment. What level of violence will cause any of us to go and burn down your house? What level of violence? What level of disagreement will cause any one of us to take away the life of somebody? And that's why I said this action should be condemned by all. The president, Dr. George Manuel Weah, had made a public condemnation of the situation. And I told the people of Lofa sorry. And have gone further as the leader of this country to order an investigation into the situation happening in my county. And went further to allow the security forces of the country to take precautionary or preventive and then further precautionary measures in Lofa to restore calm. That's the best that can be done.
Now,
we'll listen to other political leaders. There are, how many of them contesting?
About
18? 20 of them contesting. All 20 contestants need to condemn the situation happening in Lofa County. It's not just President Weah, it's not just Ambassador Joseph Boaka. No, all 20 contestants.
You see,
they are looking for votes in Lofa County too. They need to muster the courage of a good citizen to condemn the situation that happened in Foya and to apologize to the people of Foya.
You seem to be strong on your words, and you seem to be very saddened this morning, especially with the death of two of your king's men. Now, how do you think? Yes, you don't intend to go into the nitty-gritty of it, though. But from the overall, from what you've read and you've seen, to what extent you think, Mr. Minister, you want this investigation to go?
Should go to the bottom of it. You should understand the root cause of what transpired. Most times when investigations happen, it is important to understand the root cause. So that if the root cause of the investigation was because the people of Lofa were hungry and so they went into the street, it gives the government an opportunity to understand what the problem was in Lofa so that they can have preventive measures for that problem.
Sure.
That way, they will create food for the people of Lofa so that they do not get hungry again to get on the streets. I'm not giving an example. If the cause of the problem was because somebody provoked the others, then we say, let's see how we can minimize provocations so that we do not run into that kind of situation. The root cause of problems must be identified, they must be curtailed, and they must be dealt with in a manner that prevents reoccurrence. I want to see this investigation go to the bottom. And that's the reason why I'm not jumping into conclusion to say the Unity Party
is responsible,
or CDC is responsible, but it's the investigation will give an outcome of what happened. Everything that we're saying or writing or commenting towards on social media has got to do with our account of what happens. It is only an independent investigation by the appropriate authority will now move into the situation and give. So with the outcome of the investigation.
Now, for a political leader, Mr. Minister, a presidential candidate to come off a statement saying if there's any risk of the election, Liberia will come to an end. And then few days after or weeks after, for us to hear about the violence taking place, especially in the home county of that political leader, how do you draw that? Some parallel. How do you draw that?
I predicted this before. I was on your show not even more than a week ago, and I said these words, and I'll repeat them. I said the former Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, my uncle, Ambassador Joseph Newman Boaka, has joined the de facto standard bearer of the Unity Party in General Prince Ward Johnson to militarize the Unity Party. I went further to say that statements coming from the former vice president about the country going down if elections are rigged, statement coming from Milton Blaine, allies Botnike, statement coming from Prince Johnson himself, statement coming from Yeke Koluba. These are all signs of the militarization of the Unity Party. These are all signs that speak violence, and not just few days after you see evidence of violence. Circumstantially, we can begin to think actions of these people to not come up publicly, not only to condemn, but to show a demonstrative effect of the condemnation and the sincerity of that condemnation, will lead anybody to conclude that they are not absent in their minds, in their attitude to what happened in Foya and what happened across the country in different environments.
You're listening to the Super Morning Show rated on the ELBC 99.9 and also frequencies across Liberia. Our guest here this morning is a son of Wolokolie. You heard last week that a major violence took place in Lofa, resulting to the deaths of two of the kinsmen, of his kinsmen. So we thought to bring him on the program to hear basically what he has to say about that. But listening to the Council of Churches, Mr. Minister, the council just recently, just a few days ago rather, released a major statement naming and shaming Ambassador Boyka, Prince Johnson, and Representative Yeke Koluba. They're saying the council will not condone any reckless statement, especially statement intended to threaten the peace of this country. What's your take on the statement released by the Council of Churches?
I think it's fair. And if any kind of statement comes from President Weah, Madam Joa Howard Taylor, or any member of any other leading political parties across the country, I would expect the Council of Churches to do the same. There should be no separation. There should be no bias in condemning actions and statements that resemble violence in the country. We have to keep this place peaceful. I said to you the last time, it resembles a game that is played on Sports Commission. When Patrons and Barrow were playing the best of 5 finals. And the game starts to get tough. And Barrow or Patrons, out of them, realize that they're losing the game. They instigate the spectators to start throwing sachet water on the pitch, on the court. You know, when they throw sachet water on the court will get slippery. And it will endanger the lives of the players on the court. They will fall. So in that kind of game, what a good match commissioner will do, or a good playing side who is sure that he's going to win the game, he will call for time and ask the ref to stop the game, pause the game for a little bit, temporarily, for the sole purpose of wetting the court, to make sure the place get dried, so that it makes the environment okay for the players to play. At the same time, you go out there and try to create a security measure to stop additional throwing of sachet on the field. Smooth? So this game will be played. We will wet the basketball court. The rack we throw on the football field, we will remove the rack and we will prevent additional throwings of racks. The game will resume, and the match will be played. These elections are about the heart and soul of the Liberian people.
Okay.
It is about a referendum of the performance of the government that will determine the re-elections of President Weah. It is about development versus metrics. It is about the peaceful coexistence of our people. Liberia is all we have. This country, unquote, will not burn.
Or will not come to an end.
Our people say there are water all around the place. We have the Do River, we have the St. Paul River, we have the St. John River, we have the Farmington River. All these rivers are around. The country will not burn. We'll use the water in the river, put the fire off if there's any level of fire.
Okay.
And the game will continue.
Okay. Now, we can host you without talking about a bit of some of the interventions you made. Although there are, some of your opponents who are negating that, this government didn't do much. In fact, I understand, and some are saying that they didn't get any sort of plaudits, no approval, or commendations from the IMF since we entered its program. I thought to ask this question.
Who said that?
We heard some of that nature.
You know anybody who said that? I need to address them directly.
We heard some of that nature. Now, that's the reason why I thought to ask the question. What did you tell us about the intervention you made? Entering the IMF. What sort of impact did you make, and what's the fruits yielding from there as we speak today?
There is no story that is more successful of a Liberian story with the IMF than the story of Liberia with the IMF under President George Weah. No story. Absolutely no president of the Republic had gone on the IMF program that has a successful outcome
other than President
George Weah.
Okay, so tell us about the
IMF has praised Liberia of having improved fiscal management, ranging from cash management to governance, ranging from the reduction and the management of public debts, ranging from excellent and improved financial reporting, ranging from timeliness in the review and audit of the financial statements of government, ranging from pushing our economic growth to an increasing number, ranging from the reduction of inflation from a double digit to a single digit in our economy, ranging from ensuring that a passage of strong laws by the national legislature, standing up among those at the anti-corruption law, the new law of the ELBC, where in the past the president would just remove any commissioner of the ELBC for cause, but this time around, the president cannot remove a commission for a cause just by himself. He will need a legislative approval to have that done.
What's on the mandate of the IMF? Or you sought to do that so as to attract the attention of the IMF?
So the IMF basically does not really give you mandate, but to set criteria that you have to follow as a country if you want to be on the program.
Okay.
For instance, they will tell you, if you want to be on the program, you have to ensure that you manage your wage bill. Your wage bill cannot be going skyrocketed. Meaning you have to look into that. As a government, we say that to manage our wage bill is to look and cut off unnecessary expenditures on the wage bill, to reduce ghost names on the wage bill. So they'll give you a broad-based direction of what you need to do, how you get at what you need to do. You make a proposal on how you intend to do it. They send technical missions. They work along with you as a country. They realize the sovereignty of you as a country to do that. And then you move and pass the necessary legislation. I'll give you an example. Harmonization. The whole question of harmonization is being beaten. It's for a good purpose, but however, it's being beaten on the president.
Misinterpreted.
Do Liberians know that there is a whole bill that was passed by the National Legislation on Harmonization? It was a legislation passed by the National Legislature, both houses, where there are representatives of CDC, there are representatives of Unity Party, there are representatives of the ANC and other independent political parties, as a matter of fact, or independent
Who participated in the deliberation
and passed the law.
Okay.
The National Standardization Act is a law. It was passed for public good. The implementation, the legislature has a responsibility to make the law. The judiciary have a responsibility to interpret the law. And the executive, indeed, has a responsibility to execute the law. What the executive has been doing was an execution of the law. And of course, if that law becomes challenged, the judiciary will interpret the law.
Okay.
So it must be understood that the whole harmonization, all of us Liberians went through that process to have it done, because our representatives, the representative of the people, enacted that law.
Now, before I open the lines, finally, before I open the lines, let me ask this question. In the past, and I'm sure many will agree with me, in the past we heard a lot about budget shortfall. Every time we heard about that. Unlike the last administration, Mr. Minister, we want to ask, what is the narrative? What is the secret? Because that narrative has changed. Not hearing about budget shortfall anymore under this administration. What is the secret behind that?
So the national budget has a procedure. You have to make reasonable estimates of your revenue. You have to get an accurate, and the way to do it is to look at the past. If I came in government today, I want to look at the past budget. We estimated to collect 500 million, for instance. And I look at the performance of the past administration. Say, for instance, I'm in 2023. I want to see what the estimate of the budget was in 2022, and to look at the execution report and see as to whether the government actualized that revenue collection. So that revenue, for instance, 500 million, maybe about 100 million will be in foreign revenue or external resource, which is revenue coming from outside. The composition of grant and loans. Put that aside. I want to watch the domestic revenue performance. So 400 million of that amount will be domestic performance. I want to see as to whether the revenue authority was able to collect all 400 million. If I realize that even though my estimates were around 400 million and the revenue authority only collected 350 million, I will target my revenue collection around 300 million or a little over 350 million. What will cause my revenue to go up in projection for more than 350 million will be a satisfaction of myself as a fiscal arm of government as to whether the new fiscal measures that have been put into place has the propensity to collect more revenue that will exceed that amount. So a lot of thinking has to go into that. We call it credible budgeting. You have to budget with integrity. You have to budget with credibility. You have to be realistic about the numbers you put into the budget.
So the last administration didn't do credit and budgeting?
Well, I want to assume that there's a difference between having a realistic budget and an ambitious budget. I think the budget was ambitious. And of course, it reached to a different kind of situation where we even need to look at the actual revenue collections. There may have been issues that are happening in the collection of revenue, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
It is possible that the government could just actually collect that revenue, or there was not a proper accounting, I'm assuming here, of the revenue collected. You may realize that, yes, we budgeted this amount, because I'm trying to wonder, how come in their time they had all of the facilities around here? They had oil in this country that were pumping over $100 million into the economy. There wasn't no war in Ukraine. There were basically a stable economic environment across the globe. Global economic environment was booming. Compared to our time, war in Ukraine, COVID,
Oil is gone.
oil gone. How come we are collecting more domestic revenue than they collected? With all those things happening, with the presence of oil here, they rented buildings. There are a lot of empty buildings around the country. People are not even leasing those buildings. Real estate tax alone that will be collected, that would have been collected on those buildings, should have boosted the revenue high. I'm beginning to think that there is a suspicion surrounding the accounting for those revenues.
0776-540-987, or better still 0880-514-096. That's the number to call. Again, 0880-514-096, or better still 0776-540-987. You can call those numbers, and you are live on the SMS this morning. Our guest is Deputy Finance Minister for Fiscal Affairs, Samora Wolokolie. He's Dr. Samora Wolokolie, and Anthony Lord as well. Let me take this first caller quickly. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, and this is F. Laura calling you from Local Day to be Secretary District number 2 for District this morning. Okay, as about, let me first of all appreciate the studio guests, and let me say a congratulatory to a bereaved family of our two fallen heroes, Samora the late with Josiah. But like we're looking at the government to be major government that was those guys have failed 12 years, cheating now, their government going for the election with them one time, they finally all tactic that yesterday while we play the football, they will take the football and stay with everybody fail. But therefore, we know that those who play this thing in fire for the other top players, right now they beyond that. So therefore, we are studying how the consequences will be following their growth and what even millionaire capital will expose them. Thank you so much this morning.
Many thanks. Let's take this caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Saba.
Good morning.
Again.
Yes, good morning, sir.
My name is William Dolo. I joined this morning from Bon County. I'm the chairman of President of Ghana, CDC President. We are re-election 2023.
Okay.
I just want to commend the Minister of the Studio. I know Minister Samora Wolokolie from way back from the Sakamotri. He's a technician, a very energized professional. I just want to say thank you, because these are things that the opposition have used over the time to confuse our people. But as you are speaking, the message is being heard across the entire Brown County, and we're going to run with these figures and statistics you are giving, because our people, once we engage our people, it becomes a fear for these guys who only survive on falsehood. So thank you, Minister. We are all locked down listening to you. Thank you.
Many thanks. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
This is Jacob Chua calling from the Japan Freeway.
Okay.
I heard the minister saying there is no budget for in this. If there is no budget for, why is the Albanian society are not getting the budget for the past 42 years?
Okay, he's off the line. He went off. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you. Abraham, you found a call for West Point. Yes, I want to applaud the studio guests for the level of intellectualism and provided to the public. This game will play. Even if they show right on the court, you go up was saying the goal was still, we will still clean the court and we will pay the gain on October 10th and re-elect President we are. Those political chicanery, those tactics, those fear tactics that are bringing, we are prepared and we are more than true. We are more tolerant than them. Our fallen hero, may their soul rest in peace. But we will pay back at the ballot box and we will vote President we are on a one-round victory. I call for West Point. Thank you for the opportunity.
Many thanks also. Many thanks. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Morning to you as studio guest once again.
You know, as your studio guest said from the beginning that he doesn't want to talk ahead of the investigation. Let us all remain kind and cool to wait for this investigation to be conducted. Nobody should propagate any message. We all have families in Foya and we know what happened. If my memory can serve me right, he carrying really on what Prince Johnson said and what Joseph Parker said. Moluba Molu, if I remember, Moluba Molu was the first person that telling the entire future of Liberia. He had a press conference on the 15th of August. He went and said any attempt to change the CDC-led regime, Liberia future will just jabatas. They carry the news around to someone Moluba Molu or call Moluba Molu for questioning. He's the chairman for the Mountain Congress for Democratic Change. We are not here to CDC is not more than Liberia. The United Party is not more than Liberia. All these parties will go, Liberia will still remain. So we are not here for someone to talk and protect his job, talking to seek public relevance. We are not discussing it. Even people that lose their lives, the Sabaka will not want to see what is happening. The very day one of the campaign. We're not the first person to propagate.
Okay, you made your point already. Let me take this other caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Basha.
Good morning, Mama.
Yeah, my name is Rosella from Galen. I call for prayer addition in the conference of the Farmer. I tried to call to you during the incident. I listened to OKS and the morning, my body was calling the show and listening to Amos Square coming to report it. The last that was lost, they are not citizens of Loka or they are not citizens of the Republic of Liberia. Then you want to use politics, you need all of the too much money, but I got to moving 2011 after working with is not of government or government. You don't even let me appear on the show because that's the issue I always get with him as my boss. So people lost a lot, people got wounded, and we are being telling you don't come to the land for a GP, and that he's my boss are working his office. So that's my right to go to work in protesting because that's how I deliver the service I take to support my family. And then you make an issue over here, but the God that we serve is not the God that don't listen to the cry of the people. If you have the mouth of the people in Loka, it's talking about that it's Foya district. It's not belong to the former vice president. Like people that would be taking them, you see people celebrating them, you carry story, it's content making it clear that the result of Foya will not be PC, will not be a man, but according on the president of the Republic of Liberia, President George Maria. Before we go to the ballot to check our vote, we want every central in Foya district to be protected. I think that would like to be because our parents are not here. They are in a party to leave a comeback.
Okay.
If not going to, I will go in to catch my vote for my right on the right of my country and my parents tomorrow.
Okay, many thanks. Let me take this caller. Good morning. Take 3 more calls and I'll wrap it up. Good morning.
Good morning, Samora.
Yes, sir.
Steven Zone, Zulu Whiskey.
Let's hear from you.
I personally want to condemn what have taken place in Lofa. It doesn't represent Lofians. Lofians are peaceful people, even though they were having a faithful command there. But realistically, it doesn't represent them. This is why when people try to justify the statement made by Waka for the contest, it is laughable to us. Because what they have already perceived to do that what have been displaying in a look.
Oh, wow. He's off the air. Hoping that he can call back. Let me take this caller. Good morning.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to your studio guests.
Yes, good morning, sir.
I'm David Duke. I'm forming from a real resident. Okay, let me appreciate your studio guests in studio. You know, some of my attention always have been drawn to the issue of the harmonization, right? The issue, the guys, what are they not saying the positive of the harmonization? Those that the salary were low. Some people's salary were $90, some people's salary were $60.
were raising to 150. Some people's salary were 150 raising to 200. Why can't they speak of this issue? Only like the 8,000 president that were effective because they were making exorbitant. They want the decent way I mean, or more than their qualification. You know, so I don't know. Obviously, are very lazy to just run around with information and not speaking a good part of it. And it's so disheartening that you see nurses who, of course, not necessarily will cut in the Republic of Liberia or increase, but they will be on the media saying that we'll be I'm not your vote. So it's just many Liberians are ungrateful, but we will not be the chairperson. We are going to be elected on the first ballot. There are a lot of good people who know what President we have done and know the working of President George Mano we are.
Okay. Many thanks. Let me take this last caller. Let me see what I can take this last caller quickly. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sabo. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Well, Sabo, this is Kieran saying from the Beruba War Movement, Ria community.
Okay.
Sabo, this friend with you. That Britain have brought this bill to this country. There's nowhere in the modern world you will see people be like when you totally sick and dog. That video I saw where the guy was in hot, the monster hot. That video, it's a pure, it's all that there's no, it's going to be easy for the students to set up like that. To see people knocking the door, busting the hot, entering, getting a guy, killing one, the body, outside. It's a disgrace for the country, the richest disgrace of. It's a modern world, I just can't get what I want to do. It's so much too much.
Okay. Many thanks. Let me take this last caller quickly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, let's hear from you quickly.
Okay, I want to say good morning for your studio there this morning when I was Wolokolie.
Okay, we can continue with this call. Let's go back to our studio guest to respond to a few concerns and wrap it up with him quickly. Mr. Minister.
We want to use the occasion. We always say thanks to all of the callers in there. I particularly take cue from the caller who said that, I already said I'm not going to go into the details of what transpired. All that we're saying here were accounts that was given, from social media, things that we examine, evidence we examine on our own, and we're making comments in that line.
Okay.
If he has something else that shows the contrary, he's not denying that yes, the accounts on social media are wrong. But I think basically what he's saying, I hear he mentioned statement made by Honorable Molu. I don't remember which statement was that, unless you refresh my memories on that. You can play them, and we can examine them, and what have you, because people have the ability to say things that somebody never said, as a matter of fact. And that's why I always like to, look at clear evidence before I conclude on certain things, and doing my own professional training, So I also want to say thanks to the rest of the callers, and I want to again re-emphasize the message of peace. Liberia is all we have. We must encourage a peaceful coexistence of our people. We want to use this occasion to apologize to the people of Lofa. Lofa did not deserve this. We want to assure you that the government remains steadfast. The government remains in charge of peace and security to provide the security for all of us in this country, every citizen. The government upholds its responsibility and duties to exercise this responsibility to the best of its authority.
Okay.
It was elected to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. And the government will continue to do so. We urge our people in Lofa to remain peaceful. I gave the scenario about clearing the pitch. Let them clear the pitch. Let them remove all the waters that they place in the court. Let them remove the rock from the field. The game will be played. Let them remain focused. The turn up that happened in Lofa County, I'm beginning to imagine a sense shock. The former vice president is in Lofa today. I'm not seeing that turnout that happened to greet President Weah. Follow the social media. I told you the other day we were here. We are providing coverage for the Unity Party. We are behind them everywhere they go. Videos that they don't want to put out, we will put it out so that the people know exactly what happened.
Okay. Well, he's Deputy Minister of Finance for Fiscal Affairs, Dr. Anthony Samora.